DEMPO's Competitive Bidding Improvement Act of 2015 as amended.
The clerk will report the title of the bill.
HR284, a bill to amend Title 18 of the Social Security Act to require state licensure and bid surety bonds for entities submitting bids under the Medicare Durable Medical Equipment, Prosthetics, Orthotics, and Supplies, DMEPOS, Competitive Acquisition Program, and for other purposes.
Pursuant to the rule, the gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Ryan, and the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Linda Sanchez, each will control 20 minutes. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Wisconsin.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members may have 5 legislative days within which to revise and extend their remarks and include extraneous material in H.R. 284 currently under consideration.
Without objection, so ordered.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself as much time as I may consume. I simply want to, again, commend our committee, Republicans and Democrats, for working on a bipartisan basis to fix a problem in the Medicare program that needs fixing. I want to specifically highlight Mr. T-Berry, a senior member of our committee from Ohio, along with Mr. Larson, a senior member of the committee from the Democratic side of the aisle, for working together to fix a very deep flaw in a competitive bidding system which needs a lot of work to be improved. And at this time, I would like to yield such time as he may consume for the purposes of describing and explaining the need for this legislation. Mr. T-Berry from Ohio.
The gentleman from Ohio, Mr. T-Berry, is recognized for such time as you may consume.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your support of H.R. 284, the Medicare Competitive Bidding Improvement Act, which, as you said, I introduced with my friend and colleague from Connecticut, Mr. John Larson. The bill does fix a fundamental flaw in the Medicare Durable Medical Equipment competitive bidding, reduce out-of-pocket costs for these seniors. However, over the last several years, it has become very clear, Mr. Speaker, that the bidding process is extremely flawed, in large part because the bids are not binding. This encourages low-ball bidding or suicide bidding, which artificially drives down prices and will eventually lead to market failure because there's no performance in many of these bids, meaning seniors don't get their equipment. I've heard from seniors, beneficiaries, small business suppliers in my state of Ohio that the program is impeding access to needed items for seniors, like the ones I just described, and ultimately harming their help and making costs more expensive for our seniors and the program itself. This is absolutely unacceptable. The goal of the bill is to reduce the number of bad actors who are now participating in the program by simply imposing a penalty if the supplier who wins the bid doesn't accept the contract to which they won the bid. The bill will help ensure that these suppliers who submit bills in good faith create more certainty for those suppliers, and most importantly, make sure that seniors get the supplies and the equipment that they need, that they qualify for. It increases access to more quality products and services at the end of the process. If the bill is signed into law, seniors across the country will no longer have to worry about whether the company in their area will provide the information and, more importantly, the equipment to which they bid on, and it will actually be able to provide that wheelchair, that walker, that oxygen tank that senior so desperately needs. As the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee mentioned, the bill has bipartisan support. It's a common sense bill that actually passed the Ways and Means Committee unanimously, and it was scored by the Congressional Budget Office to actually save taxpayer dollars over the next 10 years. So I encourage my colleagues to support the bill, and I thank Mr. Larson for his partnership and reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves the balance of his time. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from California seek recognition?
I would like to speak on the bill. I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Gentlewoman is recognized.
I know that this legislation has been in the works by Representative T-Berry and my good friend Mr. Larson from the state of Connecticut. Unfortunately, he could not be here due to unforeseen circumstances to speak on his own bill, so I am but a poor fill-in for Mr. Larson. But the bill is a common sense one and one that will save a lot of money. The Durable Medical Equipment Competitive Bidding Program has reduced well-documented overpayments to DME providers. And it's estimated that it would result in a $42 billion savings over a 10-year period with $26 billion in savings for the federal government and more than $17 billion in savings in out-of-pocket costs for beneficiaries themselves. This legislation, as I mentioned, was introduced into the Ways and Means Committee by Reps. Tiberi and Larson, and what they're essentially trying to get at is the issue of lowball bidders. And what this legislation would do is require bonds for companies who wish to participate in the program. The Ways and Means Committee did pass this bill out of the committee on a unanimous voice vote, and I as well supported its passage. I urge my colleagues to support HR284. It's a common sense solution that will save money in the long run. And with that, I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentlewoman yields back the balance of her time. The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I'll yield myself the remainder of the time to say that the gentlelady understates the point. She's a perfectly fine fill-in for Mr. Larson. I wanted to congratulate my colleagues in the committee for seeing a problem and rushing to fix this problem. This is what we're supposed to do here. We're legislating a solution to make sure that senior citizens have access to the highest quality, lowest price, durable medical equipment, and there is a flaw in the law on how that is being done, and this bill rectifies that. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'll yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back the balance of his time, all time having now expired on this bill. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 284 as amended? Those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended. The bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. For what purpose does the gentleman from Wisconsin seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the rules and pass H.R. 1191, the Protecting Volunteer Firefighters and Emergency Responders Act, as amended.
The clerk will report the title of the bill.
H.R. 1190.